good. Is the studio called Leaders Farm? Is that the name of the studio?
Yeah.
Right. And this is David Pye, ladies and gentlemen. Do you own the place or what?
No,
I
don't own the place.
What's going on here then? What are you doing here?
I'm just a freelance engineer.
Right.
And I've been working here off and on, bringing sessions here for the last couple of years. And
right.
I just got in touch with Nick because there aren't really many studios of this size in this area at all.
Who's Nick? And presumably he's the owner, is he?
Yeah, Nick Bryan. He's a brilliant producer, amazing engineer. He was originally the in-house engineer at Rockfields for years,
right.
And now he's running this place. So yeah, he manages.
It's quite a long way from Rockfield.
Yeah, but quite similar in its
yeah, it has
build.
got a bit of a feel, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's quite strange. Actually.
So you're local, are you? Presumably.
Yeah, I'm from Norwich. Yeah.
Right. And so did you do a course on how to do music tech or something? Or how did you get into it?
Did, but it didn't teach me a great deal. I'm originally from Lowestoft, which is on the coast, which is actually where Dan, the owner, is from as well. I did a course at Lowestoft College, which was kind of hopeless, really, because it's such a small college in such a small town. They've got no funding for a music course whatsoever.
Right.
No.
So hang on, who's Dan?
Dan Hawkins,
right?
Who actually owns.
Yeah,
the place
all right.
here,
So Nick Bryan doesn't own it then? Or
no, he manages it for Dan.
Right, I see.
Yeah.
Right. He runs it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so I did a course in Lowestoft College, which was largely pointless, really. But the thing that it kind of taught me was that I knew from doing that I actually wanted to, rather than work a job which was just going to earn me money and be largely sort of not very satisfying for me, I actually decided that I wanted to do something that I wanted to do in life, rather than just kind of try and make money and not really enjoy myself particularly.
I think that's true of any of these courses, aren't there? They're sort of only a means to, that
exactly.
None of them churn out lots of fully fledged recording engineers.
No, definitely not. I mean, it didn't really teach me a great deal, especially about engineering, just because that side of the course was really not that well taught or funded, so it was kind of a bit difficult. But it just taught me kind of that I did want to do that in life, and not just. Because originally I was applying to universities in London to go away and study business and study IT and all these sorts of things, and had I done that, I'd have probably been minted by now. But I might have not been that happy. So
no, absolutely.
I'm kind of
so you've got quite a technical brain then, presumably, and quite a sort of...
Yeah, I suppose.
Are you musical then? Did you learn an instrument when you were growing up?
Yeah, I've always played bass guitar, but I never really played it to that higher level. I should really have learnt some keyboard at some point, and learnt chords and scales and inversions and other technical things which I don't really know too much about musically. But I kind of, and it's a similar feeling with the technical side of engineering. I kind of feel like I know enough to do what I want to be able to do, but I don't know every single thing about how this EQ is made.
No.
And
who needs to?
Well, exactly. I just kind of. I know what it does when I turn that one, and I know what it sounds like, and I know which bit I like. So that's
all you need, really. Isn't
it? It's a funny one though, because engineers are quite competitive about that sort of thing, and like knowing everything about.
Well, I suppose especially since music tech courses have become more popular, and there's a lot more people learning the theory behind it, I suppose. But,
I guess.
But I never did a course in it. So,
No. I mean, mine didn't teach me anything about the technical side of. Anything like that. I mean, it taught me. I remember one of my tutors one day teaching us what an XLR lead looked like by drawing it on the palm of his hand and going, "That's what it looks like," and the whole class was just like, "What?"
You ran out of paper.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was a very low budget. This course.
Yeah, exactly. They spent all their budget on amazing gear and couldn't have any paper. I do quite a lot of mobile recording, though I used to do more than I do now, but just kind of working with people in their houses or any space you can make a bit of noise in, really.
So would you take your own rig? You got like a rig, sort of?
I just got a little Logic rig with. I've now got a Mark the Unicorn 896, which is okay. It does the job. It's nothing special, but I've done loads of recordings like that, just working in people's living rooms.
So have you acquired a few mics and things of your own over time?
Yeah. I've got a few bits of gear myself. Just got a Cytec mic preamp, which I love, and got a Coles 4038, a pair of Cal Rex, just a few little odd bits really. I sort of it's only mainly stuff that I've just gone. Either like with the Coles, I was like, this is the best mic I've ever used. I absolutely have to own one of these. So I saved up and got one. And the rest of it,
like 600 quid or something. Aren't they?
Yeah, I think I paid $680 for that.
Yeah,
it wasn't too bad a deal really. But I just love them. They just they're just the mic you can put
magic,
on pretty much anything, and they just sound amazing. And the other stuff is mainly just things that I've seen pop up on eBay or whatever, like the Cow Rex. I managed to get really lucky on those. And
so, is this mainly acoustic recordings, or?
Well, I mainly work with bands, really. I mean, a lot of the time they are rock bands, or heavier kinds of stuff as well.
So you go to like a rehearsal room and record them? Or?
Yeah, I try not to do the rehearsal room thing, just because time's always so limited, and it's always a little bit awkward, and the people that run rehearsal rooms are sometimes a little bit funny about recording.
Yeah,
and that sort
I suppose around here everyone's got a barn, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just go to the barn. Just go to that other barn.
Yeah.
But that's actually quite a nice thing about being here, is that you can kind of easily acquire a building or a property, or like a village hall or a church hall or something for pretty much next to nothing. Whereas if you're in London, it's actually kind of quite hard to find spaces to record in. So, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I've been doing off and on for years, really. And then,
so when you do one of these location recordings, how do you monitor? Do you take a pair of dead loud headphones and?
Yeah, kind of, or just like set something up and record a bit and then listen back to it and just keep going, trial and error until you get something most of the time. Because again, a lot of the time you're in the same room as the thing you're recording.
Yes.
So, but again, it's just nice that a lot of the time, if you're just stuck in someone's living room, everyone's right there, right next to you, and you can really work very quickly, because you can just go, oh, that's a great idea, just put it down, and it's down, and you don't have the kind of, right, so how are we going to set it up? Which one of the 1,500 mics are we going to use on this thing? It sort of removes that. But also, I just think you get some pretty decent recordings doing that, and when you're in a different space every single time you're doing a recording, you kind of learn to react differently to different things. Yeah. Not so much like when you're here, like you've got a brilliantly controlled sound in space, which you never need to kind of work around problems with, which is brilliant in one way, but you also don't learn to do those things if you don't come across the problems. Right. So it's quite nice sometimes just to put yourself in a really bizarre situation and have to react to it. It's quite nice.
Put the mics a bit closer.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. God, this room sounds absolutely disgusting. Where are we going to put the mics?
Very close.
Yeah, put everything we've got around them, coats, bags,
lots of duvets,
chairs, exactly.
So what happens when you've done one of these recordings? Do you go home and mix it? And
most of the time, yeah. I mean, it's often more that I'd finish a recording in that sort of space rather than start one. I'd kind of always, especially when it comes to track and drum kit or something, I'd always try and be in a studio for at least a couple of days, and then you can easily record bits of vocals or keyboards or guitars and that sort of thing in a house.
Yeah,
and it saves a lot of money, because everybody's just got such incredibly tight budgets now that if you can work for 3 weeks for next to nothing and get a project done, then you'll get the project kind of thing.
Interesting. And so do you have a little mix room at home set up specifically for that?
Yeah, I just use spare room in our house in Norwich, which is kind of, I've got used to the sound of it now.
Yeah.
I haven't really.
You got some decent monitors in there then?
I've just got a pair of Yamaha MSP5s, so not even. Well, I mean, they sound quite similar to the MS10s, but they're just kind of, they're quite easy for getting around because they're just active and really little. Yeah. But I know the sound of them now, so I can kind of work on them. I don't.
You can get used to anything, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I just used to use hi-fi speakers for years, and I was always just like, well, why do people use monitors? Yeah, sure, you can hear certain things on them that you can't on other speakers, but then, I always just think at the end of the day, you're sat there in front of the hi-fi speakers listening to it. If it sounds good coming out of them, then it will next week and the week after. Yeah,
and if you've used nice mics and nice mic preamps and just recorded it, then there's not much to go wrong, really, is there?
No, exactly. I think people can easily overcomplicate recording.
Yeah,
it's so easy to do, and just both kind of getting stuck on, reading about gear and reading specifications for gear, and just constantly going on which are the best converters, which are the best mics, which is the best mic preamp and all this stuff. It's like, if you just spent that time doing some work, you'd actually realise that it doesn't matter that much.
Well, yeah, I find it interesting because You know, when I first started working in studio, the word mic preamp hardly got it mentioned. We'd use the desk, and that the mic preamps that were in the desk. You didn't think to do anything else. There was no kind of discussion about it really. You just recorded stuff.
Yeah, everything's sort of so separate now, isn't it? And
yeah, it's a bit of a nuisance in many ways, don't you find? Because you've got, you know, there's no mute buttons and.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think, like here, I mean, sure you've got like 16 channels of Calrec and 12 of the Neve, but that's enough to put a whole kit through either the Calrec or the Neve, and you get. I just think you get kind of like a bit more definition, a bit more precision when you're using the same mic preamps, which have the same signal path, and you know they don't create any difference in time delays. There's no wiring weirdnesses between them, and you know you get a sort of a unified sound across the whole recording, and that kind of. I really like that. I think that's the one thing you lose when you.
Yeah, you can start using a different mic preamp for each different.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's cool that sometimes, you know, one mic preamp will sound brilliant on a bass guitar and another one won't. But when you're using something which has so many microphones on it, like a kit, it's sometimes nice for them all just to go through the same electronics on the way in. But I just think a lot of people kind of obsess way too much about gear.
Yeah.
And like, for instance, the new HD interfaces and stuff, you know, they're meant to be better. Are they? Yeah. I don't know. I didn't really didn't really have much of a problem with the old ones.
I don't have a problem with them. I'm very happy with mine. In fact, I've got a 192 and I've got an Apogee, and I always sort of thought, I better use the Apogee because it's a bit more expensive. But in fact, I've just gone back to using the 192 because it was almost a bit too poncy. I've got a lot of sort of vanilla plain 192 sound. It just sounds like whatever you record it kind of comes back sounding a bit like that, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually mind when kind of the converters give you a bit of grit or a bit of nastiness on the way in. Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Well, it obviously did change the sound quite considerably.
Yeah.
It's so subtle by comparison to that, I think. Maybe I'm just a cloth-eared old kid.
But I mean, the difference between a 2-channel interface which costs you 50 quid and the difference between a 2-channel interface which costs you 2,000, you know, there is obviously a difference, and you can sit there and listen to it and go, yes, there's a difference. But if you make an entire record on one and it's a great record, it just doesn't really matter, does it? It's sort of, you know, people spend hours obsessing about these things and writing about them on forums and telling everybody how good they think everything is, and yeah, great, thanks.
And usually they haven't actually used them.
Yeah, exactly. There's always that something which is quite satisfying about it, in the way that, you know, every beat lands the same, every beat is as hard and as punchy or as clear and crisp as the last, but it normally just sounds that 5% too unnatural for me. I prefer the sound of a bass drum which does change in volume and has different tones depending on how it's played. And so a lot of the time, if I'm going to trigger anything, it won't be a sample of a bass drum. Like, I would rather, if a snare drum lacks a bit of snap, I'd rather trigger a noise from a synth underneath it, or you know, a tone or a blast of white noise which is filtered to match the tone of the drum, rather than just getting a drum sample. Like, for instance, I bought Stephen Slate drum samples recently, and I kind of, you know, there's certain good things about it, but most of the bass drums, I kind of press the button to play the bass drum and I think, well, I could easily record this, and I'd rather hear a drummer play it than hear a computer play it. It's sort of, I don't know. I know that so much of it goes on now as well, and especially in kind of pop and sort of pop punk and poppier sort of metal, or punk and hardcore, and that sort of post-hardcore stuff is all really, really triggered, and I mean, you get an effect from it, but it's not necessarily one I really like the sound of. And a lot of the time when I do record kind of heavier bands, post-hardcore bands, emo hardcore bands, I work really hard to get those sorts of sounds from the kit. And then when I hear it played, and you know, probably do a bit of timing alignment on that sort of stuff, because you know, that's kind of what people expect to hear from it. I don't really find that I desire a sample under most things. Kind of, yeah, it's okay to sort of bolster things with occasionally, but
So how do you do your time alignment? Is that something you do in Logic or in Pro Tools with Beat Detective?
it can be either really.
So are you au fait with both Logic and Pro Tools, would you say?
Yeah, I mean,
Equally,
personally I prefer Logic
right.
quite a lot. I think that probably comes from actually going right back to my college course, which it was pretty much either a really crap computer like a PC running Cubase, or it was a really aged Mac running Logic, and I was like, well, I never really used a Mac before, I'm going to give it a go. And I just found Logic, coming from sort of doing MIDI programming on Ataris and stuff, I found Logic was more of a kind of direct route from sort of Notator up to Logic was quite an easy transition, so I kind of got into Logic quite early on. I found sort of its almost painfully simple approach to some things really interesting and quite relaxing and quite freeing in the way you're creative with it, and also its ridiculous level of depth in other parts quite exciting, because I thought, well, I can make this program do many more things than I can in Pro Tools. And like Pro Tools is great if you just want sort of like a stable recording platform that isn't likely to just mess up in the middle of a take or stop recording and that sort of thing. And especially when you're syncing to a tape machine, it's very easy for that sort of thing. But I find it feels pretty uncreative to me. Like if I'm on a session running Pro Tools and I think, oh, you know, I'd like to program a beat under this bit, I think, how do I do it? It seems like I have to go a really kind of roundabout route to actually make something in Pro Tools, whereas I feel like with Logic, the recording side of it is as usable as Pro Tools now. The editing for time and alignment and stuff is as good, if not better, but actually just being able to create something alongside what you're working on is so much quicker and easier that it facilitates the way I work better, really.
You don't get confused switching between the different sets of shortcuts then?
Well, a little bit, but I saw that coming really, because I'd always liked to use Logic, and I started using Pro Tools and learnt all of the Pro Tools keyboard shortcuts, and I thought, well, I'm going to be switching, so I'm just going to customise Logic to be quite a lot like Pro Tools. Oh, right. So I've just got a custom...
You can load up a set, can't you?
Yeah, you can, but obviously a lot of the functions just don't really match up, so you can't really just copy everything.
So you've customised a few extra bits these
days? It's like Pro Tools for the basics of stuff, like the transport being the space bar, because obviously on a laptop that makes sense as well, which is mainly what I use. And you know, R and T being zoom in, and zoom kind of presets being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that sort of thing. But there's a lot of things which don't match up, but that's kind of how I stop myself from going completely insane and switching between them. The main thing I end up doing is sitting there in Pro Tools pressing 1 and 2 to go between screen sets when there aren't screen sets.
Well, there are now, aren't there? There's window configurations.
Yeah. I haven't really got my head around it yet, though.
No, I've not even begun to think about that.
It seems a little bit more complex than pressing 2 and setting up the windows and then pressing 1 again, so I haven't really got into it.
No, I haven't.
I mean, a lot of my time is spent in Logic, so I kind of...
So you said you also, when syncing to tape machines, I noticed there are some tape machines there. Is that something that gets done a lot, or do you record on tape much?
I like to, but I don't get to particularly.
Is that something you learned when you were at college? Did you ever use tape then? Or?
Yeah, actually, that was quite a strange bonus about my course being so underfunded, was that
they still used tape, even when it was going out of fashion.
Yeah, exactly. And it was pretty, you know, it's a basic low-end kind of deal with the tape machine. It was Fostex G16, and only sort of recording onto half-inch with 16 tracks doesn't sound amazing, but I'm really quite glad that I actually learnt the basics of just being able to at least splice a leader tape in, and you know, just how to spool tape through a machine. You know, it's sort of it's all pretty important stuff when you're just not doing the really low end of things. When you finally get to use it, you're like, oh, it's just amazing. It's such a nice way to work. I really love working that way. But
did you ever learn how to line up a tape machine then?
Yeah, roughly. It was sort of, that was quite a sort of a rough side of the course, but I've learnt more about it since, actually, just from having, I've just got an old tape machine at home, just an 8-channel TIAC like a late 70s one, which I really like, but again, I just don't get to use enough. But I'd kind of learnt about lining things up and all those sorts of really good fun things by using that and trying to make it sound half decent, really.
Yeah. So you're reading the instruction book and experimenting with a screwdriver.
Yeah, exactly. Pulling circuit boards out and going, oh God, should I have done that? Let's just put it back in. No, it's good fun. I really like the physical kind of hands-on feel of making music like that as well. Yeah. It's kind of, it feels more like when you pick up an instrument. You know, it's, you know, you sit there tuning a drum, you sit there hitting a drum, you sit there putting a microphone in front of a drum. It's nice then to put it to tape and have some kind of physical sort of interaction with the music on that kind of level. It's nice. But unfortunately, just most of the things I work on, the budget is about the cost of a reel of tape. So if I bought tape and used tape, I probably wouldn't get paid.
You'd have to just have the one reel of tape that you use for everything.
Yeah, exactly. And my recordings would just get
until you
worse
see through
and worse and worse.
Duller and duller.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm going for this kind of quite soft, you know, sort of Motown sound now, because that's all I can get.
So what have you been up to recently? What have you done since Faithless?
Well, lots more work with Rollo. Lots of different projects with him. He's always got many different things going on. And
are they mostly machine-based things then? Are they mostly?
A lot of the time they're kind of. I mean, I've been doing work with him and on Dido's next album as well, and a lot of that is actually quite electronic this time around. She's sort of a few of the songs are from past recording sessions and things, but they've been brought much more into kind of electronic sort of realm,
right?
Which is quite interesting actually, because it's sort of, I kind of, whenever I heard her stuff, I always, and obviously she's actually from a background of singing for dance producers. That's how she kind of started, and I kind of always thought that it would work more on an electronic kind of level, and it's really nice to actually hear it that way. It's sort of really sparse, really minimal arrangements, and it's quite nice.
So you got more of that coming up?
Yeah, should have. I was meant to be kind of finishing off her album with her and Rollo at the beginning of November, but I've just been offered the next Wild Beasts album as well, so I'm going to do that, and then hopefully I'll be able to come back and catch the end of Dido's album as well.
So Wild Beasts is going on here, is it?
No, we did. I was on the session for their second album, Two Dancers, which was out sort of end of last year, I think, and I did that here with them. That was kind of a little bit of luck getting that. I mean, it was just because I had a really great relationship with Nick that I managed to get on that session. They'd started here and they were recording to tape to start with, and I'd come in and done a few days of just setting up with them. And I got on really well with them while I was setting up, and kind of got on well with Richard Formby, the producer of that album. And it was sort of that I would be in for the first couple of days, set them up and then leave them to it. And they unfortunately had a few problems with the studio at the time. I think there was a dead card in it, and it was doing crazy things like not wanting to stop playing back ever. And you'd have to keep running through and turning it off at the mains and things, which wasn't ideal. So yeah, they sort of hit a few problems. So I ended up then coming back and helping them set up again. They took a break and came back. So I'd done a few more days with them, and then it was sort of, they'd got all of their stuff done onto tape and they needed to transfer to Pro Tools, so I came in and did a load of Pro Tools engineering for them throughout the last couple of weeks of the album, and just really got on well with them. And I was kind of really lucky in that they wanted to work with me again and just called me up, and sort of going over to Wales with them next end of this week actually, for most of the month of November. So that's going to be really exciting, going to a new studio which I've not been to before, which will be cool. Right.
Which studio is this?
Bryn Derwin.
Oh yeah, we know that.
Yeah. Is it good?
You'll love it, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Do you see yourself as a producer or as an engineer, or would you like to do more production?
I kind of have always come from an engineering standpoint, really. It's more, I've kind of got more of a problem with the term producer and its misuse than the actual doing of it. You know, I love working with producers, and I love working as a producer on certain things that I think I can apply myself on. But I just kind of, you just see so many people going under the sort of the name of producer when they're just not really, and they're not really doing a great deal that's particularly productive at all. And I just prefer to come at it from the standpoint that the band produces the music because it comes out of them. Or I think producer is a great term when it comes to dance music or electronic music or things that literally are produced by one person. But when it's working alongside a band, it just feels a little bit awkward for me sometimes to take the responsibility myself. I kind of find I'm not sure. It just doesn't feel particularly comfortable for me.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I think that's,
I just think that there's so many people that kind of assume the moniker of producer without really having worked for it, or have done anything that has actually constituted production. It's just what you call it, and I don't know. I just prefer to be a bit more specific about it, especially when it comes to crediting on records. I prefer it to be quite accurate.
Yes.
A lot of the time I would rather it said recorded by or engineered by, because it just I like the band to take credit for their own music as well. And when it comes to kind of royalties and that sort of thing as well, I like the band to benefit from that sort of stuff. If I get paid while I'm doing the work, that's kind of, I'm happy.
Yeah. So presumably you're paid on a daily rate most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah.
And presumably most of your clients are the artists themselves, or
a lot of the time. Yeah, I don't.
Well, I guess with Rollo, it's probably more likely to be a label thing, is it?
Well, I mean, a lot of the time I just work with him, just alongside him. So a lot of the time he's the person that calls me up and says, "Got this to do." So, not so much really. I do. Yeah, I don't know, I kind of always feel a little bit uncomfortable sort of going through labels and things, because I mean, I've been looking recently about getting management, but I'm still never sure if it's really even the right thing to do now. The industry's in not necessarily a mess, but such a weird transitionary kind of state at the moment that who's kind of to know what's really going to work for the next few years. And at the moment I'm kind of okay. Yeah. And I've got a few jobs which I'm really enjoying and which are kind of doing me good as far as perception of my work and stuff. So I'm not sure if it's really the right thing to do, but I'm not a big kind of industry person. I find it hard to keep track of people's name and who works for who and who did what and all the rest of it. And when it comes down to it, it's all largely unmusical as well. It's not really something which ever comes to creating a good sound. It's all the stuff in between, but it gets stuff done occasionally, but most of the time it gets in the way quite a lot.